Yep, Canada's forestry sector is in rough shape. And on top of that, Nutrien, the world's largest potash producer, has announced it's building a major new export terminal in the United States instead of Canada. Many in the industry point the finger squarely at federal and provincial regulations. We've got a clip speaking about this as well. I think they chose somewhere in Washington instead of BC's coast, was the story, if I'm correct.
They've drove $1.5 billion Canadian dollars out of our economy. Nutrien, who has one of the world's largest potash mines right in Souris Moose Mountain, are building an export facility in the United States. I'll say that again, that's $1.5 billion leaving the Canadian economy and going to the United States. This is happening every day, and if that can happen for a business like Nutrien, imagine what's happening to little businesses all across Canada. Our regulations are making it impossible to get anything done in this country. This is what Liberals like Stephen Guilbeault and our Prime Minister just don't understand. When you have too much regulation in one jurisdiction and make it too hard to do any business, they're going to leave for somewhere else.
Half of gas, 3/4 of coal, etc., maybe up as much as half of oil reserves, proven reserves, need to stay in the ground if we're going to get to where we are.
We have the largest producing potash mine in the entire world in Souris Moose Mountain. And there is no reason why they could not be building this facility in Canada, other than the over-regulation, over-taxation, and overburdening from the people in this building. And that's because of Liberal policy. It's almost impossible to build or create anything in Canada anymore. We have the industrial carbon tax, we have clean fuel standards, we have regulations that make it almost impossible to get anything done. This is why policy matters. If you want to see facilities like this built in Canada, we need to keep fighting regulation, taxation, and the overburdening, overbearing government that we have in Canada right now. And I can tell you that I'm not going to stop fighting, and our Conservative team will not stop fighting, because these are the kind of things that will make a huge difference for Canada.
Does seem like there's just an insurmountable amount of red tape for a lot of these things.
Well, even we didn't even talk about it, but even with this memorandum of understanding, it's supposed to come with almost kind of like it's almost like protection money or something like that Alberta has to provide in the form of billions, like 20 billion or something dollars, to build the carbon capture malarkey, which will make absolutely zero difference to global CO2 emissions. It's a it's kind of
market.
It's a futile exercise, but that's being attached to this. So it's like, not only is it, if you want to build a pipeline, you've got to do all this, speak to these First Nations, to jump through all of these hoops, all this red tape and all the rest of it, but then you also have to build this massive boondoggle to satisfy people like Stephen Guilbeault and people that like voters in Montreal, places like it's almost designed to make it as hard as possible. And rather than make it something actually productive, like something that was actually of use to the world, but that could also bring down emissions. Like, for example, why wouldn't they have attached it to nuclear power plants or something like that? It's like, yes, you can have an oil pipeline, but you have to build several nuclear power plants, and so that Alberta's energy mix is like 75% nuclear or something like that. That way, we can remove emissions that way from Alberta's what Alberta contributes to the world. But they wouldn't. Instead, it's no, you have to build a $20 billion hole and pump gas into it for no reason whatsoever. It will make no effect to on the planet, no effect on annual emissions, while the Chinese continue to power their economic revolution with coal. It's very hard to swallow, and it's not just purely red tape. It's also like the philosophical absurdity of it. You're like staring into the face of a madman, and that is often how it is when you have to interact with the federal government or some provincial governments as well. But this potash one is particularly mad because potash is like Canada's secret weapon, or one of Canada's secret weapons. And we heard a lot about potash, didn't we, when it was like, what do the Americans need from us? And now we've just kind of given it to the Americans, and at least we've brought them into the supply chain, the system, to a massive extent. So the American, David Eby complained about this in that press conference that we took a clip from. He was furious about it. He's furious with Scott Moore for some reason, but he was saying now we've just given that leverage to the United States, which is true. It's going to now have to cross a border, that potash, which is meant to be, like I say, it's meant to be like our trump card. It's all just bizarre. The fact, and to think that they would put in place this exemption for the oil pipeline, but not something like this? Why not an exemption for potash, which is of immense importance? Don't really understand.